All right. So if you're ready, I'll do the intro and we'll jump into it.
Great. Sounds good.
Cool, cool, cool. Welcome everybody to another live and amplified livecast. I'm your host Tom Quiet, and we are back at it again with another amazing podcast. It is day 6 of the 25 days of Christmas. Now I know you're thinking it's only December 5th, but we started a day early just so I didn't have to try and do a podcast on Christmas Day because I think that would be a terrible idea for everybody involved. But anyways, so today we have a very special guest coming, joining us from L.A., California. Right, L.A.
Yeah.
Is okay. I
Yeah.
I yeah. I don't know. I assume L.A. a lot of times, and they're like, well, technically it's the Val, or whatever it is. But we have Kimberly Dawn with us. How's it going today, Kimberly?
It's good. I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. It was one of those weird days, or it's been a weird week in Texas where it's like it was like 30 degrees a week ago, and today it got almost to 80, and I'm like, I don't know what weather to prepare for anymore. So,
I hear ya. We've had a lot of rain in LA lately,
which is good. Like
which is
for
good. I mean, California needs rain.
yeah,
We're always in a drought or some sort of, issue with
yeah,
water. So,
yeah, 100%. So, really excited to sit down and chat with you. You just released a new single, "Life Changing," which is a Christmas tune. It's amazing. Been listening to it all day. It's kind of helped make the busy work day seem not quite as hectic. I've really
thank
enjoyed
you.
listening to it. So kind of take a second to you grew up in or let's start. You grew up in Canada,
Yeah.
correct? Okay.
Yes.
What was growing up in Canada like for you?
Well, I grew up on a farm in Alberta, Canada. So I grew up a farmer's daughter for sure, living in a very small town. So life was very simple, different, lot different than obviously, you know, now, but
Hmm.
very simple. And it was a good way to grow up. I mean, I loved being able to. I mean, I rode horses. I grew up riding horses. I grew up driving the tractor. I can drive a John Deere tractor like anyone else. So I grew up, very, like I said, very simple, but it was a great way to grow up.
Nice. And who kind of originally introduced you to music? Was it something in the family, through friends?
No, it was something that I just gravitated to as a child. I loved listening to music, and on growing up, my mom listened to a lot of different genres. My parents listened to them, but mostly my mom. And I remember taking long drives, long trips in the van with my mom, and she'd always be playing you know, different genres of music. So I just grew up. I kind of gravitated to music, loved it, listened to all different genres. Um, and I took piano lessons as a child. So I've always loved music and I loved singing, and I'd sing in church. So that's kind of where it all began for me.
Nice. And so, starting with singing, it, or at what point did you kind of start writing your own music, or was that much later?
Um, as a teenager, as a young girl, I remember writing songs when I was probably about 12. That's kind of when it started. I'd write poems and I started writing songs and just kind of playing around with it. And then that kind of stopped. I think I just kind of stopped doing it. And I came out to Los Angeles to pursue acting and singing, actually. Music is what I really loved. So the acting world, kind of, I put that aside. And then for a little while, I kind of put music aside and I started, writing again. Probably, I would say 15 years ago, I started just writing, you know, um, and found such a love for that. It took me back to my childhood of writing. And it's just something that I love to do. It's like therapy for me. I always say writing a song is like therapy for me.
Nice. Yeah. Um, so, not to skip ahead too much, how or at what point did you kind of move from Canada to the States?
So I left Canada when I was 18 and came to the States.
At,
Um, Wanted
what,
something different. I felt like, oh, I want the city. I don't want to be on a farm. I don't want to be in a small town. But it's funny how you go back to your roots and kind of want that, what you kind of had and you thought you didn't want it, but
Mm-hmm.
you realize actually that is what I want.
Yeah, I understand completely where you're coming from. Um, so moving to LA kind of always the idea, or was that just kind of like, okay, like you kind of mentioned, I just need to make that change, or yeah,
So my mom was born and raised in Los Angeles, and so
okay,
we used to come to California when to visit my grandparents. So I always loved California, and I always said from the time I was a little girl, I'm going to live in LA. So I always kind of said it,
yeah,
and I think everyone was like, "Oh yeah, okay, okay," and then I actually did it.
yeah,
So I came out to LA, and love it in LA, but I split my time between Los Angeles and Nashville. So, um, I love Tennessee. So like my heart's in both places. It's in LA, it's in Nashville.
yeah,
But I do spend my time, which Nashville feels very much like home for me. Um, how I was raised, the people are very much kind of how what I grew up with. So it's very home for me, very much a home for me.
nice, that's awesome. And that kind of your whole journey to kind of going out to LA reminds me of the first time that I like really left home because I kind of hung around my parents for a good portion of my for like good 24 years, like until I was 24. I was like really hanging around my parents, and it was always the thought that I wasn't going to go very far from them. And then one day I got a wild hair up my butt and said, I'm going to go move someplace random. And I ended up moving out to Roswell, New Mexico because everybody told me I wouldn't do it. And so I was like, okay,
You said, I'm
why?
going to prove you wrong and watch
Yep,
me.
yep. And I stayed out there for 4 years and I loved every minute of it.
That's awesome.
So, um, so, so you mentioned that you moved to LA to pursue singing and acting,
Mhm.
but then the acting kind of went by the wayside, and then eventually singing did as well. What was kind of that?
You know what?
Yeah.
I got married, had, 4 children. And so my priority was obviously it's been raising my kids. So in between raising a family, I've been doing music.
Okay.
So, it's been more recent that I've been able to, in the last probably 4 or 5 years, really, you know, put more time and effort into my music, um, and really go full throttle with it right now. And that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Okay.
So,
That's awesome. That's awesome. And
but I tell
so,
people you can do it both. You can still have a family, you can still pursue whatever it is that you want to pursue, follow your dreams and passions, and you can still have it all, you know. I've been taking my time as I'm doing it. So,
yeah, that's awesome. And just by kind of seeing the setup that you have behind you, it's like that's awesome. I'm just really enjoying looking at all the guitars, looking at the interface, looking at the piano behind you. So, no, it's really cool that you kind of stepped away to follow another passion because you got married and had kids and you wanted to like put all your attention into that, but then you always kind of, or then you kind of circled back to your original passion of
yes, I
singing.
did.
So that's really cool. And had you, before you got married, were you releasing music before you got married, or was that something that kind of started afterwards?
That started afterwards. I was singing and, training and doing all those things, auditioning, singing, doing all of that. But no, I hadn't released like, you know, singles or doing any of that. That was a whole new world for me when I jumped into that.
Nice. And that was like within the last 4 or 5 years, correct?
No, I've been doing that now. Honestly, I've been releasing music for 10 plus years.
Okay. It
Yeah.
was in the last 4 or 5 years that you've been able to do it like more full time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I misunderstood what you
No,
said
no,
earlier.
no,
Yeah.
and when I say that, it's been like, because it would be like I would do shows, but it was, I couldn't do as many shows as maybe I maybe wanted to do. It was like everything was all kind of planned out. Now it's like I'm traveling back and forth from Nashville and LA. I'm doing shows in Nashville, I'm doing shows in LA. And, so it's like I have a little more freedom to kind of do a little more now as the kids are getting older, and that's
Yeah.
where we're at.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. How often would you say you're going out to Nashville?
Oh, I'm there every month.
Okay.
I'm splitting my time between Nashville and LA.
Yeah. Nice.
So I'm there like 50-50.
That's cool. I'm really hoping that I can get out to Nashville more. I had the plan of 2020. I was going to try and go at least once every 3 or 4 months. And then obviously things happened in 2020 and I haven't
Hmm.
been back since. But now, as we've started doing this podcast, I've got like the amount of contacts I had previous to the pandemic to now, it's like 5 times. And so it's like, I think I just need to like start driving out to Nashville because it's only like a 9 hour trip for me to get to Nashville.
Yeah,
So
it's actually close for you. You're in Texas.
yeah, yeah. So I could like drive, make it a long weekend, and just make it cool. Just like do something with it. But I just obviously pandemic for 2020 and part of 2021. I didn't really
Hmm.
do any of that. So we'll see. We'll see how
Yeah.
2023 shapes up.
Yeah.
So let's jump into the new single that you have out, Life Changing. It's an amazing tune. It's available on Spotify and all the streaming platforms for anybody that wants to listen. If anybody's listening live, I'm going to throw it into the chat down below. So, what's the story of Life Changing?
Well, I wanted to write a song that was going to, not just be for the holidays, but something that when people listen to it, it actually ignites you to think about wanting to help other people. I think we live in a world where, well, first of all, I truly believe that we're all here on this earth to help one another and serve one another. And I hope that this song, when people listen to it, it reminds them of that. We never know what someone's going through. You could see someone and you don't know what they're going to. Someone could be smiling, acting like they're happy, but maybe they're struggling. And also just to remind people, let's not judge people. Let's not judge. You don't know. You're not walking in that person's shoes. They're holding a sign and saying they need help. They need help.
Yeah,
It's not up to us to judge. Are they saying that just because they want someone to give them some money? We don't know.
yeah, 100%.
So that was the premise of the song, is really wanting to just, you know, bring a song to light that really made people think about, how you can help somebody. And I always say you could give someone a smile that's having the worst day, and just that changes their life. It changes everything for them
Yeah,
because you just smiled and showed some kindness.
yeah, for sure. I get where you're coming from with this song. Um, so this isn't your first like Christmas project you've released,
No.
right? It's
Mm-mm.
just been a little bit, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I've written quite a few Christmas songs. I love writing Christmas songs. I think it's so fun to write Christmas songs, but I haven't written one in, a few years. So it was fun to write this. And I actually wrote this song a year ago. So it was written like last July, I think. And so I just, decided, you know what, I want to put out a Christmas song. And this, we had written this song and it was perfect, perfect timing. And I think it was the perfect time for it to come out, actually,
Yeah.
too.
It it's interesting because you're like the third or fourth musician that wrote their song in July. So that whole Christmas in July thing that they'll do for like pro sporting events, it's like, oh, that's actually a thing that works.
You got to write your Christmas songs ahead of time. A lot of times
Yeah.
people think about, oh, I should have written a Christmas song when it's in November. And it's like, and so I never remember that. I'm like, oh, and when I'm in the middle of writing sessions, especially in the summer, I'm like, I need to write a Christmas song.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. Because, not everybody has the ability to, like, come end of October, oh, I've got an idea for a Christmas song,
Yeah.
write it, record it, and release it before like even mid December.
Right.
So it's, I mean, hats off to the musicians that can do that, but, it's not everybody. So,
And you have a certain window of time that you want to have it out. You really should try to get it out at the beginning of November.
oh, yeah, for sure.
You know,
Especially if
'Cause
you're trying to
Christmas,
get like sync placements or
yeah,
radio placements. Radios are starting. I think I've seen some radio stations here in Texas. They started like right after like November 1st.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, for
So
sure.
awesome. Um, so for this single, when did you officially release?
It came out the 18th of November,
Gotcha.
right before Thanksgiving.
Nice. You know, mid-November is about a good time. Like
Yeah.
just in generally speaking, like right after Halloween. Nah, but like a week or two before Thanksgiving, I think that's like the right time for a
Yeah,
lot of Christmas stuff to start coming out.
I
But
agree.
then again, they did a poll here in Texas that most people think that they shouldn't start playing Christmas music until December 1st.
Oh,
I was like, oh, okay. I mean, that's a little late in the game for me, but okay.
yeah,
So,
because there's only you got 25 days of Christmas that 25 days till Christmas. The Christmas season's very short. It's not,
yes,
so it's like you want to get it out there and get that music played
100%. So, for Life Changing, you said you started writing it in July. Is
of
this all
2021.
of 2021?
Yeah.
Are you looking to make this like a recurring thing where you do one every year, or make this a bigger project where you do like an EP and LP? What's kind of the thoughts moving
You
forward?
know what? I actually would put out another Christmas album. I haven't put out a Christmas album in a while. So yeah, I mean, since I haven't really put one out in quite some time, I putting out a Christmas album next year is actually something that's on my radar to
Oh,
do.
nice.
So yes, I would like to put out another Christmas album.
That's awesome. Yeah, because it was 2014, right? I think.
Yeah, and then I wrote some Christmas songs, and then I put a bunch of them together and put out like a platinum Christmas album that had some newer songs, some older songs, and just put that all in one. I think in 2016.
No, nice, awesome. Um, and so for Life Changing, is there any? Did you give any thought to doing like a music video for it, or like any visual components?
There's a lyric video out because we just recorded it honestly in October. Wasn't a ton of time to really put a music video together, and obviously this Christmas season's so short, but
Yeah,
we put out a lyric video, so that's up right now, like on YouTube.
gotcha. And do you usually try and do some kind of visualizer for all your releases,
I
or
do.
okay,
Yeah, I usually I will have a music video of out with all my single releases. Yeah.
nice, nice. So with Life Changing out now, it's been out for little less than 3 weeks, if
Yeah.
my math is correct.
Mhm.
What's kind of going through your mind right now that the album's out and it's starting to gain some traction, people are listening to it?
You know what? It just makes me, excited that people are listening to it, and I'm getting a lot of great feedback. People are really loving the song. So I think it's a very happy song for the holidays, especially because, as you and I both know, the holidays aren't always the most pleasant time for everybody. Not everybody loves the holidays. It can be really difficult for people. So I want the song to also uplift people when they hear it and make them feel good, especially if the holidays is not something that you know, like to celebrate, or it's just not a happy time for you.
Yeah, that was me last year. I was very much a Grinch. Well, not a Grinch. I didn't really want to be involved last year, but
Get
this
it?
year it was one of those things where we were going through some family things, and it was like, hey, I really don't want to do this year. I'm good. And then this year, my dad called me. I think like after like maybe it was after Halloween, but maybe mid-November. He was like, "Hey, I'm getting the Christmas tree up." And my dad's usually like one of them dudes that's like his birthday's December 19th, and he's
Oh,
like,
wow.
"Okay, December 20th, we could put the Christmas tree up," because he kind of wants that separation
Yeah.
between his birthday and Christmas.
Yeah.
And this year, he called me and he was putting it up like mid-November, and I'm like, "Oh wow, I don't know what changed in his world, but okay." And then I started just like seeing a bunch of different things, and I was like, you know what? I don't hate Christmas, so.
Well,
But
that's good. I mean, Listen, I think it ebbs and flows with
Hmm.
people. Some years it's like great, and some years, people aren't in the mood for it. But that's why I hope this song just is a cheerful song that really helps people, whatever you're going through during the holiday season. Just that it's one of those songs that makes you feel good.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So for the people listening to the recording, right here is where we're going to put in the song, the recording of the song. I'll do a little intro after, or when I'm editing the whole thing.
Okay.
So we'll put the song in right here. Um, so just kind of looking forward for the rest of the, or not the rest of the year because the year is almost over, but for 2023, what are your plans looking like for 2023?
Well, I'm recording a lot of new songs. I've been writing a lot. I'm still writing, recording. I'm going to be putting out a full album,
Hmm.
um, LP next year, not next month, next year. I have shows I'm playing out. I've been playing out different venues in Los Angeles, different venues in Nashville. So I'm just going to continue, recording, writing, and getting ready to put out an album next year.
Nice.
So, and continuing to just play out. So, hopefully, I can get play some of the festivals throughout the year. That's one of the goals that I have is getting on some of these festivals and playing some shows. But yeah, I'm going to continue just doing this.
Nice. That's awesome. I'm glad there's still musicians out there that like the idea of releasing albums. Although I get the whole philosophy of the way the music industry releases music right now, I get all that. But just when musicians say, I want to release an album, that's just, it's amazing because I just love listening to a full body of work and not just like one single and, that's kind of it.
Right. No,
So,
I listen, I love being able to put out the music, and I'll be putting out several singles throughout the year,
hmm.
but there will be a full album coming out.
Nice.
So,
That's awesome. Um, so just a refresher for everyone. Life Changing is your new single. It is out now. It's on Spotify. If you're listening live here on Twitch or watching live here on Twitch, it's in the comment threads below. So make sure you go give it a listen. It's an absolutely amazing song. It kept me in the Christmas spirit all day. As
oh,
I was kind of dealing with a lot at work, just kind of you get into the office on Mondays after the weekend and it's just kind of like a whole weekend of stuff that I got to try and sift through and fix and all that fun stuff. So,
well,
but
I'm glad that it helps you through your day, so that makes me happy.
yeah, yes, it certainly did. So since it is Christmas time and this podcast is known to get a little random at times, I want to kind of just ask you a few holiday specific
Okay.
questions in a fun little game that we call rapid fire randomness.
Okay.
So I'm going to just kind of ask you a few random questions that I have written down, and we'll kind of, yeah,
Great.
that'll be that. So if your personality was an adult holiday beverage, what would it be?
Well, I don't drink, so I'm a hot chocolate. I mean, I know
Fair.
that's not an adult drink, but
Hey, it works.
I guess you could add some, like, I can't even think. You could add
Some,
something to it.
yeah, you can. Yeah, okay. What is a fond memory of Christmas growing up in Canada?
I remember just all of us decorating the Christmas tree together, and I'm one of 8 siblings, so I remember Christmas mornings, how there'd be so many presents, like filling up the entire living room, and our living room wasn't big,
Hmm.
but with all these gifts, like going all the way out into the hallway because there was 8 children.
Yeah,
I just remember that the loads of presents under the tree and filling up this room.
that's awesome. That's really cool. If you had to be best friends with one of Santa's reindeer, who would it be?
Um, well, I was gonna say Rudolph only because Rudolph is like they considered him the odd man out. So
Hmm.
I'm the girl who always wants to find that person that's kind of singled out and befriend them. So that's the reason why I would say Rudolph.
That's very fair. It seems to be a very popular choice when that question comes up. So, um, what's your favorite Christmas movie?
Um, oh, I have so many, but I would
Uh,
have to say, why am I forgetting what it's called? The little boy who gets left at home. Why am I forgetting what it's called?
oh, Home Alone.
Home Alone. I love Home Alone. I could watch that over and over and over and over again.
I was just watching that last night. I was sitting there after the podcast that I did last night. I was like, all right, I'm not quite tired, so I turned on Home Alone, and then before I knew it, I was halfway through Home Alone 2, and I'm like, I probably should have went to bed, but
Literally just watched Home Alone last week. That's why I'm like, why can I not think of what it
yeah,
is? Just literally watched it last week. I love that movie.
it is a good movie. It's a classic. I watch it all year round
Yeah.
because it's one of those things that kind of transcends Christmas. It's not just a Christmas movie.
Yeah,
So,
no.
and then do you have a favorite Christmas cookie?
Um, Anything honestly that has chocolate chips and candy cane in it.
Really? Okay.
Hmm.
So you could you almost do like just a regular chocolate chip cookie with candy cane
Good.
sprinkled?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. I don't eat a lot of candy canes just because they're like I always got really sticky with them. Like they
Oh,
always just got really sticky
yeah.
in my hand, and I was just kind of like, I don't like having sticky hands. So, but
I get
no,
that.
yeah. And then what are your plans for Christmas this year?
Well, my tradition is I always do like a big Christmas Eve dinner. So
Hmm.
we'll do like a family Christmas Eve dinner.
Oh no.
And we have a nice dinner, and I always do like a gift. Everyone who comes over gets a gift. I always want everyone to open up a gift on Christmas Eve. So that's been a tradition that we've had forever. So
Awesome. Awesome. Um, cool. So that was just kind of the random part of the podcast. Um, so kind of moving into 2023, or actually for the rest of the year, how often are you playing shows? Are you kind of slowing down for the year, or
yeah, things have kind of are slowing down right now. So I don't have any shows planned right now. Well, not for December. January, I have shows. Yeah,
yeah,
getting
it's
ready to
always
book shows.
yeah, it's always kind of interesting in December because it's like that there's still gigs out there, but a lot of musicians just kind of tend to slow down because it's the holiday season and the gigs get a little different, you know.
They do. And you know what? And I just kind of, it's like right now, I kind of want to hone into the holiday season, get ready for the holidays, and just kind of,
Mm,
I've been really busy. I've been traveling a lot. So for me,
mm.
I just need to kind of, you know, center myself a little bit
Yeah, I feel it. I feel it.
to get
And
going for January and let it all start up again for 2023.
yeah, are you going back to Canada at all for Christmas, or are you going to stay in LA?
I'll be staying probably in LA and going back to Nashville as well. But
Mm,
we've talked about maybe making a trip up to Whistler. We love to go up
okay.
to Whistler. Yeah.
Is that in Canada, or where's that at?
It's in Canada. It's in
Okay.
British Columbia.
Okay.
Yeah. So
And you still have family that lives in
my
Canada?
parents are still up in Canada, and I have a sister
Okay.
still up there. And I just went up there in October to
Mm,
visit them. So, and they may come down here,
yeah,
so
that'll be fun. That'll be
yeah.
really. What's what are Christmases like in California? I can't. I know what they're like in Florida, and I imagine they're similar, but
Well, we don't have snow,
yeah.
not where we are. But you know what? Honestly, it's like lately the weather is so different. It keeps
Mm,
changing. So it's been pretty chilly. Um, it's been foggy and rainy. That's what it's been like. But I mean, a typical Christmas, we might have sunshine.
Yeah,
We may or may not, depends. Sometimes there's years where it's actually been like heavy, heavy rains and it's freezing cold. So,
yeah,
I never know from day to day. Like you said,
mm,
one minute it could be 30 degrees and the next day it could be 80 degrees. And that's
yeah,
kind of how it is here too.
yeah. That's what has me concerned. So I work for a TV station, and our meteorologist was like, "Yeah, it's oddly quiet right now. I'm just really concerned that we're gonna get hit with something bad right around Christmas, just because kind of how everything's lining up." And I'm like, "Well, you bite your tongue because I have
Yeah.
to drive to Chicago on the 23rd. So if I
Oh,
have to
wow.
drive through some crazy weather, I'm not going to be happy about it.
Yeah.
And I will
Yeah. And
probably,
Chicago's cold
yes, yes,
right
yes.
now.
I,
They get the
it,
snow and they get the wind. They get all
yeah,
of that, what I grew up with.
yeah. Luckily, in the 10 years that I've been like not living in Chicago, that's where I grew up was in Chicago. So the 10 years that I've not lived in Chicago, every year that I've gone up, it's not snowed or the weather's not been bad. And I don't want this year to break that streak.
Yeah. I
It
hear
would
you.
just be bad. So,
I hear you.
anyways, so just kind of moving forward, you're staying busy with the writing. Are you always kind of actively writing, or where are you kind of at in that realm?
Oh yeah, I'm actively writing all the time.
Hmm.
If I either they're in person or they're on Zoom, as we learned over, 2020, we can do a lot of things on an app called Zoom. So yes, I am. I usually have 2 to 3 writes a week.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
And a,
And I'm writing on my own too.
nice. And something that's kind of interesting that I always like to talk about when that comes up is out of those writes, how often will a song come out of like, I don't know if you consider them like writers' rounds or like just whatever you consider them. How often does a song come out of a write or a co-write?
It just depends on what the project is and what I'm
Mm,
working on. So I'm writing a lot of songs right now, but I'm writing a lot to figure out which songs are going to go on this next album.
mm, okay.
So even some of the singles that I'll be putting out, I might be putting out singles that may not end up on the album.
Mm,
So it just depends on, the songs. I mean, I feel like every song I write is a great song. It just doesn't mean that it's necessarily right for the project. But
yeah, for sure.
5 years from now or 3 years from now, one of those songs could end up on an album. And that has happened many times, actually.
Yeah, for sure. And you always need those songs that you can play live. So in that way, it gives people another reason to come see you perform because it's a song that they can't hear anywhere else.
Right, right. And also, I always, my goal is to always write the best song when we get in a room.
Hmm.
And that song might be the best song for somebody else and not for me. So I'm always aware of that, you know what, the song could be pitched somewhere else where another artist takes the song.
Yeah, for sure. So for people that aren't familiar what like co-writes are or how co-writes kind of work, do when you go into a co-write, are you going in with like a specific agenda? Like, okay, I'm coming in with I want to get this hook figured out or this line, I want to get it paired with like what's your approach going into like a co-write?
So it really honestly depends. But yes, sometimes it's like I have an idea for a song and I'm like, okay, I have an idea for this. What do you guys think? And then it's like, oh, that could be a great hook. Or um, you start writing and you figure out, okay, this isn't really going anywhere, but there's something else that we're writing about that we could change that and make the song out of that. That's
Hmm,
happened before.
yes.
Sometimes I go into my writes and I'm like, okay, I have a lot of slow songs. I need mid tempo or up tempo songs. So
Hmm.
that's the focus, is to write a song that's going to be more up tempo or mid tempo.
Hmm.
So, and then obviously when you're in a co-writing session, you also want to take the ideas of the other writers in there and
Yeah.
see what ideas they have. So it's spending time saying, okay, I have these ideas, they have these ideas, and you kind of sift through to see what really resonates with everybody, and you kind of go from there.
Yeah, for sure. And do you have a like when you do your co-writes, do you have a a set group that you usually work with, or do you try and mix it up? Uh, yeah.
I actually like to mix it up. I have certain writers that I've written a lot with, and that if I know that I'm going into maybe a new write with somebody, I might pull in one of those other writers that I know is really good at
Mm.
helping melodically or helping with, really getting a lyric out if we're stuck. There's definitely writers that I know can help with that. So, I do pull in certain writers for certain
Yeah.
other co-writes.
I
Yeah.
get that's awesome because that's kind of the it's always interesting because when musicians go into co-write, at least from my perspective, it'd be like originally I thought it was you just went in and you started bouncing ideas off of each other and whatever stuck, but then a couple of people introduced the concept of, hey, no, when musicians go into songwrites, they got to be a little bit more strategic. Whether it's okay, I've like you had mentioned, I've got a lot of slow tempo stuff. I want to start making something a little bit faster, so I'm going to
Mhm.
start working with people that have faster tempoed music. So no, it's interesting how much I've been able to learn over the last 2 years about song or co-writes and all that stuff, and never being involved in one.
And honestly, and it's interesting because I've always been the under um, just the impression that I need to go into any co-write that I go into to have ideas.
Hmm.
So I always have a list of ideas. Not everybody does that, but I'm telling anyone who's out there who's listening, who either wants to get into songwriting, or if you are new at this and you're going to be going into co-writes, walk in with an idea, have some ideas. Don't just walk into a room and be like, I don't know what I want to write about. Because you all want to be able to give something, and so that's what the co-writing's all about, is everyone's kind of helping each other to figure out, how can we write the best song. You never want to walk into a co-write and just be like, I don't know. I don't have anything. I always
Yeah.
have ideas. Whether my idea gets picked or not, it doesn't matter. It's I can't came in with ideas and I'm
Hmm.
contributing.
Yeah. It's like going into a co-write without my perspective now is kind of like going into a co-write without an idea or something to work towards. It's kind of like going to school without doing your homework.
Yeah, it's
So,
exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
but anyways, so that's always fun. Like I've rarely get to talk about co-writes and all that stuff, and usually because it doesn't really ever get brought up on the podcast. So the fact that we had the opportunity to kind of dive a little bit deeper into the thought process, because I know there's a lot of young musicians that come in and listen to the podcast, and they always ask for advice about, oh, how do I get my music played? How do I start? All that fun stuff. So just kind of be able to
Yeah.
focus in on a specific subject is awesome. So, but yeah, so that's if anybody wants to check out any of your music, any of your interact with you on social, any upcoming shows, where's the best place to find you?
Well, I'm on all streaming sites, so you can find me on Spotify, Apple, Pandora, all of those. Um, and you can follow me I'm on Instagram at official Kimberly Dawn. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. What other? Oh, I'm on TikTok too, you guys.
Yes,
I've actually been doing a lot of stuff on TikTok. So, I'm like on every platform that you can imagine. You can
yes,
find me, and I do
nice,
share when I have shows coming up. And stay tuned because I do have some shows coming up. I know in LA next month in
nice,
January.
nice. Do you have any aspirations of like? Obviously, you've got the LA shows and Nashville shows. Do you have aspirations of like going out and setting up like a proper tour or doing like a
I
loop?
do. I do. I would love to even be able to go get up to Canada and do some touring up in Canada.
Nice.
So, I'm hoping this 2023, like I said, I'm hoping I can jump onto some of these uh, music. Why am I forgetting what I'm trying to say? Some of these My brain just went.
It's all good. So you'd like to get out the music venues?
Yeah, yeah, but
Yeah.
like there's a lot, like, you got Stagecoach, I mean, there's
Mm.
a lot of these
Oh, festivals.
the
But
festivals. Thank
yeah.
you. My brain, for whatever reason, really get out on some of these festivals.
Hmm.
So there's so many going on throughout the year, all
Hmm.
over. And not just
Yeah.
here in the States. They're in Canada,
Oh
they're
yeah.
over in Europe,
Oh yeah.
Australia has a lot of different ones. So it's really wanting to just get on the radar with some of these festivals.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's a where I actually been putting this on not subliminally. I've been purposely putting this out there. There's a festival that we go to every year, or that we went to every year prior to COVID, and because of COVID, we weren't able to do it for a few years. But this year, I'm gonna go back, and it's a festival down in the not or in Tampa. They're based out
Oh,
of Tampa, and so after the festival, I'm going to make a trip up to Nashville, and just kind of use it as an excuse to be like, oh, I need to go to Nashville because I'm out this way, even though it makes no sense whatsoever because I'm gonna go 12 hours north just to come back, you know, 10 hours or whatever it is. So, but yeah,
I
I'm
love it.
just, it's the way my brain works.
Love it.
But yeah, no, the fact that you're actively, or that you're trying to book festivals, and
Yeah,
hopefully we'll catch you at any one of these amazing festivals. Maybe we'll see you at South by Southwest. That would be
I
amazing.
know.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's on my radar. That's on my bucket list.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. Yeah, I have not been to South by Southwest yet, but it's an hour and a half away. So one of these years,
Yeah,
I'm going to just break down and go. So
yeah.
awesome. Well, once again, thank you so much for hanging out. It's been a blast chatting with you. And anytime you want to come back on, feel free to reach out. We'd love to have you back on. Or
Thank you.
if,
Thank you for having me.
yeah, for sure. Or if we happen to cross paths in Nashville, it's a small world. I'm learning that one very quickly. Or, well, I
It
guess I've
is.
known that one. But once again, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And we will actually have a Merry Christmas. I need to start saying that at the end of all these. Everybody have a Merry Christmas, and we will see you all tomorrow for day 7 of the 25 days of Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Awesome.